everyone, and welcome to today's video. My name is Kenzie. If you did not know that, now you know. You guys, today I wanted to share with you some vintage luxury bags that I think that you should be buying right now.
So until then, just wait.
If it's your first time ever seeing me, then hello, my name is Kenzie. I'm so happy to have you. I do a lot of videos on handbags, luxury fashion, travel, mostly handbags because I love them, like small leather goods, all those kinds of things. So if you like that, if you like my vibe, then please feel free to subscribe and click the like button and ding the little bell down there so that you're notified every time I upload. Without any further ado, let's jump into the video. Okay, so vintage handbags are very popular right now, and I think they're going to only get more popular, you know? I have seen so many people wear vintage bags, and there's a lot of companies as well that do vintage like consignment. Like there's Luxury Promise that does a lot of vintage. There is Le Prix, which does a lot of vintage stuff. There is Redlux, which does, to my knowledge, mostly newer pieces, but they do have a bit of vintage thrown in as well. But vintage is just everywhere, and it's so popular at the moment. So there are a few luxury bags that I think that if you're looking for a bag and if you don't want to spend a huge amount on one, you can get a luxury bag and pay less because it's vintage, and vintage is super trendy, so win-win. So the first bag that I want to talk about right now is, could you imagine, oh wait, I need to scoot over here. Could you blame me? Like, I am probably like a Chanel spokesperson at this point, only for the Chanel Classic Flap, and maybe the Chanel 19 in the future, I don't know, but Chanel Classic Flap. Think that a vintage Chanel Classic Flap would be my #1 choice, unless it is just not your style, unless you are not about the grandma lifestyle, because let's be honest, the vintage ones particularly do look a bit grandma-ish in my opinion, but I love it so much. It looks so timeless, it looks so classic, it's never going out of style. Even these ones that are from like '89 are still super trendy. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. I don't think the Chanel Classic Flap has ever been out of style. So I would 100% go for a black or a brown. I actually found a really nice brown one that's super cool. So I think the next Classic Flap that I get might be a brown, not a beige, brown. Very nice for that. Also, if you're not into the Classic Flap, there is a CC Charm Pocket Tote that's super cute as well, and I like the quilting on it, but again, you have to be into it. It kind of gives me like a hobo bag feel, a little bit older, but more of like a hobo bag kind of feel. So if you're not into the kind of like fancy Chanel Classic Flap, then I do think this one would be another really good option. Really, anything that's vintage Chanel, if you could get your hands on it, I would recommend it. The next one I want to talk about is, of course, probably the #2 favorite for everybody is probably like a vintage Kelly. Honestly, like a vintage Hermes Kelly, if you could get one of those, I think would be just a wonderful addition. I do think it's like a box leather that they did in the vintage Kellys. I just think they're so beautiful as well. The leather is a bit shiny for me, but that's just my personal opinion. If you like the shiny leather, then I think that it's great. I do not think that the shiny leather, box leather, takes away from it in the slightest. I just don't love shiny leather. But you can find vintage Kellys online for actually pretty cheap. You can, again, still find them for very expensive because Chanel has boosted up their prices so much. It's become in the territory of a Birkin bag. So in my opinion, I think it's making the Birkins and the Kellys even have to go like higher up. Now the resale market on Birkins and Kellys are just astronomical through the roof, and the vintage ones are going up and up and up as well because vintage is super in. So I think that if you're looking for something like this, then I would jump on that. Next up, I have Dior saddlebags, vintage Dior saddlebags. So cool, so chic, so, you know, vintage, but still really cool looking. I love the look of them. There's even a Dior vintage denim saddlebag, which you're going to be hitting two trends because denim is very popular and vintage is very popular. So you'll be killing two birds with one stone when you think about it. So that's obviously a good option there. And I mean, you even have, of course, vintage Lady Dior's as well. So if you like the look of Lady Dior, but you don't want to spend like $5,000 to get a Lady Dior, they have vintage ones. You have a lot of options. And if you don't like any of these, then I would just Google like vintage Dior, because you'll be able to find plenty of other ones, like bags they don't make anymore, mind you, but it's okay because vintage is super in, like I said, so they'll still be pretty popular. Next up, I want to talk about vintage Gucci. Vintage Gucci just has so many just amazing options to choose from. You have the Jackie Hobo bag, and some of these bags you can get for like dirt cheap compared to most bags. I mean, like there's this Venti Hobo bag that I see here from Gucci that's like under 400 bucks. That's insane for a luxury handbag. And then there is another Gucci one that I wanted to share. It's the Gucci Ophidia flat bag. How cool is this? Very casual. I don't know, even now, if I were to see this, I would think it would look so awesome on somebody. You can find vintage stuff pretty much anywhere. You can find vintage stuff on like Instagram shopping, but again, make sure to do your research and make sure everything's authentic, of course. And then if you need to get something re-authenticated, you could totally do that as well. It's actually quite cheap to get things re-authenticated, but there is a lot of vintage stuff out there. The next one is the vintage Fendi Baguette. Listen, I love the newer Fendi baguettes. I love the midi size that's relatively new. It's like in between a small and medium. But the classic Fendi baguette is just elite to me. I want a Fendi baguette so badly. And just the regular one, I think it only comes in medium. Just the regular normal Fendi baguette. I want that bag so bad. It's so fun, so casual, so funky. But then the vintage ones are also so nice. You can tell that the baguette is just a staple of Fendi. It is a classic design from them, a classic style. It's never going out. I've never seen the Fendi baguette go out of style personally as well. It is just such a cool bag and I really like it. And the vintage ones are so awesome. They're very slouchy. I cannot stop talking about the Fendi baguette. I want one so bad. And to my knowledge, I think you can also get vintage Fendi baguettes for relatively cheap as well. Oh yeah, you can get them for so cheap. Because right now the baguette is going for like what, 3,000? Yeah, $295 or like 3,000, around that. You can get a vintage one for like 900, 1,500, depending on how good of a quality it's still in. These bags are just so good, and I think probably this has to be like my number 3 option. The Chanel Classic Flap, the Hermes Kelly, and then the Fendi Baguette. If you one of those 3, you just be sorted. And the last one I want to share with you guys today is the vintage Louis Vuitton Noe Petit. I don't speak French, guys. Please don't murder me. But listen, this bag, they have the Noe Neo now, I believe. And guys, it's the cutest little bucket bag. I love bucket bags so much. This is on my wish list as well. I have a few bags on my wish list right now, and this is one of them. I love the Noe Neo Noe, is that? I don't know. But there is the Noe Petit, and it is the cutest little thing. If you're into the bucket bag style, I feel like the people that are into bucket bags, like a little bit bohemian, a little bit casual, but then again a little bit classy. I don't know. I feel like anyone can carry the bucket bags and get away with it. It's so freaking adorable, and the vintage ones are actually really nicely priced as well. You can get a really good one for under $1,000, whereas the Noe Neo at the moment, I believe, and it's very small. The Noe Neo, yeah, is between like 1,500 and 2,300 pounds, or not pounds, dollars. But you can get the vintage one for under $1,000. It's insane. So I definitely think that if that's something that you're looking for, you should totally jump on that. And I do think that the Noe Petit bags can fit relatively a good amount. But yeah, I see this one here for under $1,000. This one's under 600. It's like 500. But yeah, you can get them for very, very cheap compared to bags nowadays. But vintage is just so in at the moment, and I think everyone and their mom is going to be carrying vintage. And I think that's a really good thing as well. Let me scooch back in the middle here. But I think that's just so great, you know, to give these older bags another chance, a new life, you know. I love the idea of that, and also you can get them for, like I said, such a low price. So you can have like the designer feel, designer bag, but you know, not even having to spend $1,000 for it. Sign me up. Alright you guys, that has been the video. I really hope that you did enjoy it. If you did, then of course please go ahead and click the subscribe button again. Give the video a like and ding the little bell down there so that you're notified every time I upload. And again, I hope that you enjoyed the video, and follow me over on Instagram once again because I do post very often over there, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!